This is where the fun begins.
Okay, hello. Why is it not letting me uncover? It is frozen here, so you guys can't see me, but I am letting me click out of this thing here. Oh, it's frozen. Okay, hi. So welcome to Coffee Chat. Good morning, and I hope that you grabbed your Caff, and I hope that you guys can hear me. There we go. Whoops. All right. It finally caught up. There we go. Hello again. That was strange. That was really, really strange. So welcome to this morning's coffee chat. And what is in your mug? What is the beverage you are enjoying this morning? Well, I say morning because it's California time, 9 a.m. And it is outside is fairly foggy, cold, damp. So I am all cuddled up with a nice little sweater, blanket over my lap, hot coffee in hand, hair still kind of like it's decent. Basically, I almost crawled out of bed and did some stuff around the house and got ready for the show. So I am happy to be here with you guys. And so I have Zagorot 315. Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing? And I can't wait till everybody starts popping in. It takes a few minutes, like a minute or so. Chaos Man 17. Hello, how are you doing? Hi, OG. Sorry I haven't visited the channel in a couple of months. I've been taking a break from the internet from hearing all of the fear mongers news. I get it. I get it. It can be very toxic when you have this repeated rhetoric about what's going on today. It's almost like they are trying to like hypnotize, and that creates fear. So once you keep on hearing it, you believe it. But then when you keep on hearing that, listen to us and don't trust anything else, then you tend to do what they say and stuff. And it drains your energy. You stop thinking for yourself. I mean, I can go on for days about that kind of like psychology that the media and social media in general is doing to people today. And then Max, relax. Hello, folks. Hello. And let's go on. And I have Lady Toriel. Good morning. Having meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and gravy with coffee. Wow, that sounds good. That really does. I know you're probably an hour ahead of me, so that must be your dinner after work or something. That's what I'm guessing. So enjoy. If not, then that's a very hearty breakfast as well. So good morning. Good morning. But Chaos Man, I am so happy you are here with us. We're going to have some fun here. We are going to discuss Star Wars. That's always a topic. But we are going to go into the original lore of Boba Fett. And I wanted to pull up a comic that shares some of his history. And it's called Blood Ties. So we'll take care of that. We'll go through that. We'll go through one, maybe two of the first 4 issues of that comic, and you'll get to see why or how he learned not to be so fearful of things. And I think it's a very interesting arc. And then I'm also going to cover, might as well use my platform, but if you guys haven't noticed that the Tuscan Raiders, I guess people are calling them that, they're getting humanized. First of all, like one of the definitions of be humanizing is basically making the people human, which Tuscans aren't. So I disagree with that term. You can also say humanization. It's also showing that they're civilized, which I still disagree because they did not like technology and all that other stuff. But they are likening them to my people, Native Americans. And there's this theme of dances with wolves. And they also said The Last Samurai, which I have that movie as well. And I could see that too. But because it looks like a Western, quote unquote Western and stuff like that. and you have the trope of Boba teaching them how to fight and all this other stuff, and this peyote lizard type thing that went up his nose. Well, anyways, that's so weird. Oh my God, is this Star Wars? But anyways, they're letting to my people share something from Twitter that I seen this morning. So just to kind of touch bases on that. Let's see here. And okay, so now there we go. This is slow today. Why is it slow? What's going on? Nothing much. Yes, dear, yes, dinner. There you go. Sounds really good. I haven't had meatloaf in a while. Yeah. All right. So I hope you guys are all doing well. And those who are just popping in, please hit that like button. That helps out the channel and the show so much. And it's greatly appreciated. Tweet out, share on social media that we are live. And if you're popping on, what are you enjoying in your beverage today? And I have an announcement on January 8th at noontime. So that's Saturday at noon. I am going to have the drawing stream for the channel members. So if you attended any live stream between now and then, and that includes today, surprise, yay. So Lady Toriel, for example, she will be entered to win a copy. Her name will be put in again. I'm having that drawing live stream. It's not going to be just members only, because I want to encourage people who can afford, no pressure whatsoever, who can afford to support the channel in that way, other than subscribing, to become a member. This is one of the perks you get. I figured, I love art, I love Star Wars, combine it together and give it, have an opportunity to share that with you guys, and have opportunities for my channel members to win a copy of that said painting. And it's just a way of giving back. It's my gratitude towards you guys for support. And I'm thinking at the 6-month mark of doing something special for everyone, not just the members. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with that. So with that being said, I'm going to pull up something here really quick, but let's go ahead and just see what's going on in the chat. Chaos Man 17, not all Tuscans were evil. No, they weren't. But the thing is, that's with every species and stuff. Learning about a species or characters or whatever in fiction doesn't mean that they have to be humanized, quote unquote, humanized. We also know that there's always good and bad, just like, for example, the Jedi, there's always good and bad. Yeah. And then, yeah, they took to Harry, they had her. Asherad Het became a Tuscan, or not Asherad's the son. But there's a sense of torture and like proving yourself. They don't adopt yours. And I think that's the misstep here that I've seen so far in this series here. By the way, the relationship between her and Anakin Solo was cool in that it came before the prequels. Yes. Well, that's the thing that Luke, I would say that there were families, there were people, there were Jedi that still had families, even in the prequel, but that was very frowned upon because that would lead to an attachment type situation. And was it Fury? I think it was Fury, the novel Fury from Legacy of the Force, where Ben Skywalker pulls his father out of being attached to losing Mara and not functioning and stuff. And it's an example of what attachment means. Attachment means like not being able to be yourself, that you are totally that person that once they're gone, that you cease to exist kind of deal, and you cease to function and all that. And so I think that was a great way to give the viewers or the readers an idea of what attachment meant, because you could still love, you could still have a relationship, you just have to learn how to honor them if something happens and let go. And I think that's the toughest thing we can ever do as humans, is to peacefully let go I got bucked out of this thing. I don't know what happened. I switched my internet connection, so hopefully it just was that. Let's see here. This was so wrong. Sand is good, and they have no idea about the Tuscans, right? So, so I'm back. I'm back. I don't know if you see me pop out or whatever, but that was weird. Let's see here. And hello. I got kicked out of my own stream. It like I got popped out.
That's so funny because I just came on backstage and I was like, is there some? I was adjusting my volume. I was doing all sorts of stuff. I'm like, something's wrong. And then you pop back in. It's like, oh, it's not me. Thank goodness. Because I swear I would have had a hissy fit if all of my equipment suddenly malfunctioned like that. It's like, damn it, I just bought this thing.
Right. I don't know what happened. It just like I switched my internet connection. I normally use my 5G for live stream, and this time my 5G is like nope, and my regular connection's like yep. So yeah, and it popped me out, and I'm like in the middle of this heartfelt like what attachment is, and I don't even know if they caught it.
Oh.
When it comes to Star Wars and attachment and stuff like that.
Oh. Well, attachment is bad. What was that? Was that the monologue from Attack of the Clones?
Yeah.
Love is good, caring is good. Or
yeah, exactly. And we're going with that. And then I was we're gonna go ahead and go into the comic called Blood Ties, and it's about Boba Fett, and it has some Jango Fett in it, and it's about like a little bit of the history of him. I thought that would be fun to focus on something that is good about Boba Fett, which is the original Boba Fett.
Yeah.
You know, but I was telling them too before I got into the attachment and spew, and I don't think anybody caught that because of my stupid friggin' internet and getting bucked out. But I am so annoyed right now with how they're making the Tuscans look like my people, and their story like they're like my people, like they're the helpless indigenous people, and they're fighting against the settlers.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, the Tuscan Raiders have always kind of been animal-like, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so to say that they're like the Native Americans, I can't speak as a Native American, but that's incredibly, though, insulting to me. It's like, oh, so the quote-unquote subhuman characters, oh, they're just like the Native Americans. I think that's racist as fudge.
It is, and I'm gonna go ahead and share this before we get into all the good. I just need to blow some friggin' steam here, because it's like I'm seeing it more and more, and people are like, oh my god. Okay, so let's just go ahead, and I'm gonna pull up this screen here before we move on to something funner, because I mean, I swear to God, I'm
gonna go medieval on us.
Yeah, let's see here. So so on here they talk about why are they being humanized as sand people? And I get it, but the thing is that Tuscans, the definition of humanizing, or whatever, is like making them human, right? Tuscans aren't human. We can see and get to know them as a species in their culture, but do we really need to humanize them?
Yeah.
And that's the question that I'm putting out there. And so they say, well, humanoid is not human, and so this dumb fuck, I'm sorry, so we aren't supposed to be, or and I'm going to go back to what he says about my people. So we aren't supposed to feel anything for any alien species, just the humans, just imperialists. How imperialist of you. No Ewok, no calamar or Mon Calamari, Twilight, blah 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 allowed. And that's not what he's saying. He's saying that sometimes we can look at the culture of the people and understand why they're functioning the way they do, right?
Yeah.
But do we need to make them in a gray area where they're good, they're just misunderstood?
Yeah. And why are they doing it? That's what I've always say. What's the question behind the question?
Right. And then so he's like, the majority of these species were civilized to some degree, unlike the Tuscan Raiders. And this is where I'm like, fuck you. Wow. How does it feel to sympathize with colonizers who called indigenous people savages, enslaved and killed them, and took their land?
Now, is this guy saying this to you?
No, he's saying it to that person, but it's
okay. I was just double checking, because that would be a double.
Yeah, no. And I'm like, are you serious? Okay, first of all, Tuscans didn't care that these people weren't on Tatooine. You know, what they didn't like about them was that they used technology, which is blasphemy to them, and that they farmed water, which is sacred to them. That's all. That's it.
Yeah.
But they hated every single person. They hated, they were very xenophobic. It didn't matter if you're a human or not. They hated you. If you use technology and all this stuff, and they even hated their own like subspecies, I guess you could say, Jawas. You know, so it wasn't about the settlers coming down to Tatooine and you know, quote unquote taking land. It was about the technology and farming water, which was a no-no in their culture.
Yeah. Well, and why are they so eager to make that analogy?
Because they want to. This is the modern thing that's going on now with our franchises. There's insert modern reality into it, which is not necessary. That doesn't make sense there to do that. And then we had like Favreau and Filoni and them, you know, make a Western. They have that train that goes across the desert. Seriously, there's a train that goes across the desert. There is a heist. Boba teaches them how to, you know, use speeders, I guess you could say. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense, because that would be blasphemy to them to even want to put their hands and sit on top of a speeder. Really?
Yeah. Well, and didn't they not just in the original lore, but even in Disney lore, in the Mandalorian show, didn't they kind of establish that they weren't into that? If
Well,
I'm
kind
correct.
of, because one of them had a binoc.
Okay.
And I was like, what? But you know, like you read Kenobi, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. So we got to see in depth why they hated settlers and why they hated, you know, why their stances. And then we had Ayark, who there's exception to the rule in any culture, species, what have you. There's always going to be the one that's saying this is not working for us anymore. We need to adapt, right?
Yeah.
Ayark was that person, right? But the way I look at that is that she was the single one that wanted change so that they could survive. And as we get closer to A New Hope, you know, it didn't stick. That's how I see it, because we don't see that anymore, right? And but when they did take technology, which is the water evaporator, they made Oren Gold operate it. They didn't touch it because that was blasphemy to them.
Yeah.
So they enslaved him. None of the settlers ever enslaved the Tuscans. They enslaved everybody else, and they tortured. And if you didn't survive, you were killed. Of course, you died. But if you did, more than likely, you either became a Tuscan. But if you didn't want to, then you either killed yourself or you end up being killed through torture. So that's how that goes. And there's a very huge disconnect. They want to make them, like I said, be a misunderstood species, which kind of takes away the tension and feel of like Attack of the Clones.
See, I was about ready to say what they did to Shmi. That was incredibly brutal.
So now basically we got to say she deserved it because she's a settler. That's the approach that's going on here. That's the approach that's going on here. She deserved it because she's a settler.
No.
And then I just read somewhere on Twitter, like it popped up this morning. I'm like, why do I have to see this shit right now? But someone says now the Book of Boba Fett reiterates that, you know, Sidious did have some kind of control of the Tuscans. And so that's, you know, and so it was Sidious that had this control over Tuscans to steal Shmi, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, where do you get that from?
I honestly don't know.
Asking for shit that's not even there.
Well, I mean, Sidious definitely had his fingers in a lot of things, but he, for crying out loud, didn't have that much.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, you know, so I'm not going to go down that road. That's a whole nother discussion, because it was even debated before Disney took over. That's a whole nother. But so I said to this person, hell no, you aren't just comparing Tusken Raiders and Star Wars to my people and today's world. This has nothing to do with our reality. In fact, Tusken hates all species who use technology and farmed for water. That's it. Not because they settled Tatooine.
Yeah.
So
it's simplifying things and you see, here's the whole thing. whenever you simplify anything, that's not actually inclusion. That is actually, it's kind of a soft form of bigotry, isn't it?
Right. It sure is. And that's like, when like what, not even a month ago, people are like, George is racist. Watto is like the Jewish, Tordarians are like a Jewish stereotype.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
So
his big nose, because of the type of hat he was wearing, because it had like a little dome and whatever, and it looks like, they're I forgot the name of their little hat that they wear, but it looked like that. And because he's a business person, and and I don't know, it was so odd. It's so odd. And then so now I feel like saying, okay, so you guys said George was racist, but now you're happy that they created this analogy, this thing between the Tuscans and Native Americans, and you're not calling it racist, you're celebrating it. That is weird.
well, wasn't there that one article that they tried to say that what they're doing in this show is they're rescuing it from George's racist something or other?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all odd. It is so friggin' odd. I swear to God. And the more they go down this path, the more like everything's going to have less meaning. Basically the heart of Star Wars is gone from that, it's not there. And so there we go. So because, so I just wanted to, get it out of my system here. Tuscans are not like Native Americans. They are fighting against settlers who they see as blasphemy, like against their culture, their ways for using technology, which now they're not in the show. Now they're not. So there's no purpose. So the purpose now has to be switched to making them look like they're the helpless indigenous native people. And so they're giving them that trope because
and the victim trope too, like
right.
Help us, we need a white savior or something, right?
Yeah, and they just made Boba Fett the White Knight in this situation.
Oh gosh. Okay, see, I'm not watching the show. Oh, so he's the white savior. I guess it wouldn't be the white savior in this situation, since of course he's not white, but the same concept.
Yeah, the same. I'm using that term loosely because that's basically what we say. It's like, oh, you're white knighting for me? Okay.
Yeah, the human savior. Since I'm human, I will come to these savages and I will save you.
And I'll teach you how to fight against these people, even though they knew how to. They knew what they're doing. They're a warrior society, but now all of a sudden they're not, and Boba has to kind of help them. Kind of like Last Samurai. Have you watched that?
No, I haven't had the non-pleasure of that. But it definitely it sounds like, okay, we're gonna make them so stupid, and they need to have this human come in and teach them how to teach these ignorant savages how to defend themselves because they're so stupid.
Yeah, literally, they had a scene of them. Okay, so I'm just gonna break some down with you because this is from the reviews and stuff that people shared with me. Okay, so they allowed a lizard to crawl up Boba's nose, and he started going on a peyote trip, kind of intoxicated, stance, I guess you could say. So he got he started having these this trip that he started tripping, basically goes out into the desert, comes back, comes with they finds a tree, mind you, in the middle of the desert, finds a tree.
Oh, well, there we go. How convenient.
Yeah, and then he brings back a branch, and that's when he returns, he's all happy, and then that lizard jumps out of his nose and back into the Tuscan's pouch.
Okay.
And I'm not shitting you.
Well, I mean, I guess if that's what floats people's boat, I mean,
right. But it was so odd. And then and I'm like, so, and that's like, people are saying that's the peyote lizard trip, Native Americans. So anyway.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And, like on Young Guns, when, they take peyote and they're like, are we in the spirit world?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that. So he goes on this mystic journey, finds a tree out in the middle of Tatooine, which basically that's really non-existent, right? It's like they do have shrubbery and it's very low and close to the ground because of the terrain and the climate there. So he finds a branch, he takes it back, the lizard jumps out from his nose and goes back to his master's pouch, I guess you can say, and he makes his Kurdafi stick and becomes a Tuscan.
Okay. Well,
yeah, and so they dress him, and so it's like kind of like in Dances with Wolves when they're dressing Dunbar and they're putting on the buckskin, and have wind in his hair and the other guy, and they're dressing him, and it's kind of dark in the teepee, and the lights coming up from the top of the shaft, the hole, the top. It was that kind of situation where it's dark, and then the lights coming down, and they're dressing Boba, and they don't even wrap him. They wrap his hands, yes, but they don't fully wrap him. Tuscans are fully, once you become a Tuscan, you have to dress, you get wrapped, you put on the mask, all of that. They wrap his hands, they give him his garb, and that's it. And he looks like, Fester. That's when they dress him like Fester.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that it's so cringe. So you're not missing anything whatsoever. Part of it, I'm laughing at it because it's so fucking funny. So I'm like, okay, I will rant about the indigenous ties that they're trying to do to make these people look misunderstood. And I'm like, I might just do a whole video on this myself because it's just very disturbing. At one point I was like, yeah, I'm so glad they haven't inserted like my people's tropes into their stuff. Well, now look where we're at. I am so annoyed with that. And but I wanted to go ahead and get into the true Boba Fett story, and that's what we're going to do today. And I don't know if you've read Blood Ties.
No, I haven't, but I'm here along for the ride.
Okay, good. And then you can add your own info, like you could, say, oh, wow, or whatever, and add your own what you want to with that. And good morning, Caffeinated Wolf. And then Robert DeCosta, and that's Royales or whatever. Is that what that means? I'm not going to roll my tongue right now because it's like it's still morning time and I'm still just sipping coffee.
Okay, well, if you want to roll your R's, just put a D in front of it and it sounds like a rolled R.
Oh, okay.
That's what we do in singing. Yeah.
Okay, and I forgot all about that. It's been a while since I've been in choir and sang and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well,
all
there
right,
you
so
go.
Yeah, so thank you so much for the super chat, $20. Imagine how amazing it would be if Boba with the Tuscans taught him how to not rely as much on his tools, the jetpack that failed him, and help him become a better warrior instead of the silly train heist thing. Yeah, and it seems like he had after the fact that when he left the Tuscans, or I don't know, it's so confusing because every time he goes in the back to tank, it's a flashback. So the back to tank basically is just a plot device for flashbacks. That's how I see that.
Yeah. Well, and it's unfortunate because if they wanted to do the Boba Fett, even in their little Disney lore thing, they could have gone in so many different directions.
Right.
Why do this? It just is.
This is the inside minds of these creators right here. They're like, oh, we can't be original, and since it's Tatooine's like a Western planet, which I get that George wanted like to have some kind of like Western trope in there, but it wasn't literally taken like that.
Yeah.
Not like how they're doing now. They
I guess art. Yeah, what is it like? Dances with Tuscans.
Right. Oh, and they do have a friggin' fire dance at the end.
Oh, well, there you go. Yes. They can bring out the Wampas and dance with the Wampas. Yeah, dancing with Wampas. That's what it would be, right? That would be a better.
That's Wampas.
Yeah, the Wampas. Hey, if anyone out there knows how to draw or do those little animations, wouldn't they? Actually, I would watch Dancing Wampas. That'd be kind of cute. Dun, 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 dun. I hope that doesn't give you a copyright strike. I don't know.
If it does, you did that pretty good then, and they'll be like,
the dances, the dance of wow, it's a great score for Dances with Wolves. I love,
Yeah,
great
and
score.
I don't have beef with Dances with Wolves. I get it. Yeah, they had that white trope of white knight kind of in a way, but it does harken to like how some people did go inside and marry with the tribes and stuff like that. In fact, my French blood is because of that. The French blood comes from French explorers and traders that married.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, and it was true to history.
Mhm.
I think something like Dances with Wolves, if it was just Dances with Wolves, that'd be fine. It was everything that came after that, because I remember, enjoying Dances with Wolves because it was an aspect of our history we don't always talk about, or at least especially didn't talk about at that time.
Right. Yeah. Matt G, $2 super chat. Thank you. They're trying to make this like Godfather Part 2. That, and then also like kind of like there's so many like and so many things you can harken them back to, like Dances with Wolves, like The Last Samurai, like The Godfather Part 2, and someone pointed out that there's two plot points, and some people are like, this is kind of difficult to take, follow, because you have the flashbacks and then you go back into regular times. And I'm like, if they were really smart enough and they wanted to give the history from Return of the Jedi, surviving the Sarlacc, all the way up to the Mandalorian time 5 years later, then they would have just began it at when he survived, and then they could have spent more time developing the story without flashbacks, and so we get more details, or they would get more details and reason why, and then Boba Fett would have more character development other than resorting back to flashbacks to show that how he got where he was. And some people, that will lose people. Witcher did that a little bit in season 1 in the first few episodes, and that some people did get confused. I didn't when I watched it.
I was confused as heck.
Yeah, I caught on like the second flashback or whatever it was, but a lot of people did get confused with that. And I think this is the same thing that they're trying to do, is like give the flashbacks to show why he is the way he is then, or that time frame of the Mandalorian. And that does confuse people. It does. So
yeah. Well, and just one more Godfather reference. Boba's gonna go up to a Wampa. You broke my heart, my brother. He kisses him on the forehead. My own brother. And then he shoots, and then the Wampa's gonna be fishing and saying Hail Marys, and he's gonna be shot in the back of the head. There you go. Spoiler alert.
You heard it here first. And then Caffeinated Wolf, only Star Wars content that has excited me since the whole Disney era started with Force Awakens has been Jedi Fallen Order. I think that, I heard from many people that Jedi Fallen Order was decent, and it had so from decent to having and creating that feel of Star Wars in game sense. So I get it. They can't even get me excited over a Boba Fett solo series. Shake my head. Yeah, I'm so sorry. It's like they're trying so much to make it like our reality. It takes you out of the experience. That's how I see it. It takes you out of that whole experience of like, this is Star Wars. That's not Star Wars. That is not. Let's see. I'm trying to open up the new here.
Well, they missed the boat on the whole Boba Fett thing. They were supposed to be doing it like 3 years ago. And then they're like, oh, we can't do it because, okay, let's do Mandalorian, which is probably what they were originally going to do for the Boba Fett thing. And then they decided to pull it straight out of their buttocks. No, let's do Boba Fett after all. So
yeah.
That's what we got. That's what we got.
And then they also written themselves in a corner because they give Din Djarin from The Mandalorian, the main character, Jango Fett's character arc from how he became a Mandalorian and all that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so they put themselves in the corner. So now they really, really have to reinvent.
They've used all their content up. I mean,
exactly.
Heck, I came up with better plots when I was a little kid playing with my little action figures, Yeah.
Yep. So this is okay. So this is what I'm talking about, you guys, right here. And I've been sharing. I do have hard copy of this series here, Blood Ties, and this gets into the development of Boba Fett from a child all the way up to we get introduced to his wife and child. So if you guys didn't know, Boba did have a wife, and it's kind of tragic how that went. And I'm not going to get into it right now, but yeah, so he did have it. He did have a child and a kid, and later in the storyline, he gets to meet his granddaughter. So it's true. Everything, like the development that happens with that is true to Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't any of this crazy changes that we see being made now. Matt G at $2, thank you so much. Boba isn't Luke the Last Jedi bad yet. Here's my thing, and I know people have gotten pissed off at me for me saying this, but I'm gonna stick to this. If you were mad and upset with Han, Luke, and Leia being, their character arcs being completely changed, then any other character that is brought in, whether it is from the movies or the EU, you need to be mad about, because they're given the same treatment. They are.
Yeah. Like imagine if you were like a little boy or a girl who loved Boba Fett and just couldn't wait to see it, and then this is what you were getting.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, if you like it and you don't care how they changed Boba, then don't be pissed off about how they changed Luke, Leia, or Han, because it's just the same thing. Every single one got the same treatment in some extent of the character being changed to fit their story. So that's how I see that. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. That I'm not here to convince you, and I'm not here to cause any problems either. That's just how I see it. And I think there's logic behind that. There is, we got so upset with Luke, especially because he's everybody's first hero, and even Han, even Leia, they're the first heroes, and they may have gotten the first destructive arc, and maybe some of the massive, because it's like you can't really put your head to why they changed and stuff like that, and it really goes against their character development from Return of the Jedi. But the same thing goes here. Boba Fett, he wasn't really much of a character in OT, but because he became a fan favorite, and then his arc was continued on in the EU, and then we got to see his birth origin, I guess you can say, in Attack of the Clones. He became a fan favorite, and that's why George allowed him to survive the Sarlacc. And so when people discuss that he was destroyed, our character arc was ruined, we're hearkening to the EU, but we have valid points. When you start bringing EU characters in and changing them, we can and will use the EU to compare and contrast, because that's where the character development is. That goes with Wedge and Telly's too. He was, he only got he got more moments than Boba, but his character arc too was extended and everything in the EU as well. So if we do compare and contrast, it's going to be with EU stuff, and that it's still valid to do that. And people are like, it's not canon anymore. I don't care. That's fine. I'm glad it's not quote unquote canon to Disney's lore. It is canon to George's lore, to the the movies and stuff. So, and it is original canon because George is a creator and he sanctions and helped create it. So we do have validity on comparing everything together. So that's my rant. So we're going to get into this. But first of all, oh my God, thank you, lovely Lady Toriel, $5. Become a member. It's the best thing you can do to start the new year. Alora is the EU queen. Oh, thank you so much. And again, the drawing for the painting stream will be January 8th at 12 noon. So it's this Saturday. And it's not only open to members, it's open to everybody, because I just want to encourage, if you can afford it, it's greatly appreciated. Subscribing to my channel. I'm very honored you guys do that too. So thank you so much. So let's get into this comic here. So this basically, the father and the clone in an adventure of spanning 2 generations. So right here, this is Jango right here. And so Blood Ties, Jango and Boba Fett, part 1 of 4. Blood, blood will out the time and again in that galaxy far, far away. The bonds of family or the breaking of those bonds have affected the course of history. Wars have been fought. Governments have fallen. Our tragedies has been averted because of one character's blood relation with another. That's true. The Blood Ties series will explore the familial links between some Star Wars most famous and infamous characters. Though not actually father and son, Jango and Boba Fett share the same blood, literally, but even more than blood, Boba will discover that the decisions made by Jango's life have an impact on the life of his clone. So there we go. So this, and you will get, and I think this, what I'm going to share with you, you will see why Boba learns not to be fearful and look fear in the face and not, cower. So this shows a lot of his development and stuff. So, all right. So here we go. So this is Boba right here, I believe. I can't really tell. I think it is. I am surrounded, a monster at my back. In front of me, something far more monstrous, a powerful madman. Everything in this room wants me dead. I am not afraid. So there we go. Yeah, that's Boba. And then here we go back. So I have known true fear. And this is where I shared some of these panels here. Stand still, Boba. So there's little Boba right there. More flying practice, Dad. And he's all something like that. And you could tell they're in a dark area, there's bones. And so it looks very eerie. What's that? Those large creatures we saw on our way in, the Pardlem. I think I said that right. They were hard to miss, he says to Jango. They're the main food source of the Balyag. The Bardlem are the only thing on this planet big enough to sate its hunger, and it needs to eat a lot of them. And so he goes on to say, this is their scent. And so he sprays little Boba with the scent. And he's like, why do you want me to smell like? And then, you hear the roar and you can see Boba's face. He's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
He's like, what the hell are you doing to me? And then there it is. So
Yay!
This is the monster. This is the beast. And so basically, literally, it's looking into the beast's eyes right here to learn how not to fear. So... And I'll get into dynamics. Hi, Kitty. I heard your kitty.
Oh, yeah, she agrees.
She's like, no, that thing will probably eat me. Or no, she probably thinks that she'll beat the crap out of it. Cats are like that. Cats are bold.
Yeah.
And then Jango says, go bring a tooth back. And he's like, what? And then he flies up. Yeah, because Jango's right there. He flies up. He's like, go. And then so, of course he makes, you want to make the sound effect? And then let's see here. And then so now we are on the outside, and these are those creatures that the Bolyag eat, the Pardlem or whatever they're called. And so he's inside, Jango's outside waiting. He's inside confronting the Balyag. Just imagine that. Your first test is going to get a tooth from this creature. And so he comes flying out and he drops the tooth of the creature right there. And he's like, well done. Yeah, he's like, yeah. And so he doesn't look like he's too pleased with Jango, his dad. He's like, why did you do that to me? And then Jango explains here, because these are moments when you want to have time, or you won't have time to be scared. You have faced the most terrifying thing in the galaxy. Now, no matter how long you live, no matter what you come up against, the most fearful thing you will ever face is behind you. You have faced the Balyag. You need never fear again. There you go. So this goes back to him in the Sarlacc. This is why he went in and he wasn't fearful. He fought his way out, and then he wasn't traumatized like how he is in Disney Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing he's ever feared in his life, he overcame.
Yeah. I would.
He looked right in the face.
Well, the whole belly and the beast metaphor, the thing. Yeah.
Right. That's exactly what it is. And so then we kind of understand a little bit more about Boba and why he is the way he is. But he's also a clone of Jango, which basically maybe it's genetic, we don't know, but most likely because if you look at all the clones and stuff, despite their being there altered to blindly follow orders, they don't really fear. But that's the Mandalorian culture as well. They don't really fear. They go in. Their thing is like run fast. What's it? Run fast, or like I forgot the saying now. Damn it, I should have looked it up. But they have a saying about like something run fast. I forget now. If you guys in the chat know the story and that saying, please share it there, because it's like in my head, but part of that saying is like stuck and doesn't want to come out. So
fear does not exist in this dojo. How's that?
Right, there you go. And then Terminus East at $5 instead of Dances with Banthas. Would it be more fitting to call it the show Dunces with Banthas?
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see here. Fear is the mind killer, Dune, right? That's what it is. It's like, and that's the thing. We have to have a development to why Boba doesn't fear. Like, I'm pretty sure that there's some situations that make him like, oh shit, kind of deal. But why he can, not let fear trap him is the better words that I'm looking for. And, and then, like watching everything go down on Twitter about the book of Boba Fett, everybody's saying, and like some videos, people are saying he had PTSD after the Sarlacc, and that's why he changed his ways. They're using that PTSD. And I'm like, first of all, if anything, if you want to say he experienced PTSD, the event that would have caused that would have been when he lost Jango in the Geonosis arena on Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. Well, PTSD has been abused lately. I'll just leave it at that.
Right.
Now, I used to sometimes joke about PTSD. I mean, rather, that's wrong. Say, oh, this gives me PTSD. It reminds me of The Last Jedi. But I can't even do that anymore because everyone is using PTSD and being serious. It's absurd.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that was my thing too when I first seen that. I was like, are you serious? PTSD has been overused to where it like discredits like even our veterans who have experienced it, like war and conflict and stuff like that. And I understand why they're getting pissed off at this newer generation of like, I have PTSD, blah, 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 blah. I've even heard a YouTuber say that Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, gives her PTSD.
Yeah, or someone using the wrong pronoun. Now, okay, maybe that's upsetting, whatever. But I know a dude who has PTSD, and literally, if there's like a loud noise, it will totally bring him back to it. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's like, no, that's PTSD. And it's like, no, it's no joke, and don't trivialize it. And unless you've been shot in the head or been blown up in Afghanistan, maybe. I don't want to trivialize, because I've known people that have had PTSD. I've known some doctors that I know someone that got it like after the first time she lost a patient. That's real and authentic too, but not this other stupid crap.
If you get PTSD over a franchise because you don't like a character, I think that the mental disorder is not that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get pissed off. I mean, I get mad. I can go from 1 to 100 thinking about what they did to Luke Skywalker. Yeah,
right. That same here. And in fact, one of my tweets that I did regarding me like inspired by him, it's like near almost 4K on the likes and shares and stuff like that. I'm like, whoa, that took off. And that's another thing too, is like today's modern society, people have to have a character that looks and has the same gender on them to relate to them. And my whole point is like, you should look past skin and gender and at the human condition, what they have to offer you. And, and that's basically the pretense of that tweet and stuff. And I did have a few people are like trying to counter me on that. And I'm like, so then it's okay to be shallow. And, so it's weird. It is okay to be happy to see a character of a different ethnic being casted. I'm not saying it's not, especially when the story calls for it. Like Dances with Wolves or was it Wakanda? You know, if it calls for that, don't
yeah,
just
exactly. I mean, for crying out loud, I am as pasty white as they come. I wouldn't be able to enjoy anything. I just like Cobra Kai. I just had the time of my life with Cobra Kai. It's like, well, I guess
Mhm.
I was only supposed to relate to. I think Johnny's the only pasty white character in the whole thing.
Right.
You know, it's like I guess screw the rest of the characters. No, I love them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point, is like we need to stop being shallow and start looking past skin color and gender. You know, and you know, just embrace humanity. Yeah, we can still honor each other's cultures and stuff and have understandings, you know, if we don't understand, and having compassion and kindness towards that. I'm not saying you can't. What I'm saying is that, you know, it's the time now to where we need to start looking past the skin color and gender and just start seeing people genuinely,
Yeah.
you know, because character doesn't come from skin color.
No, and it's a very boring character. Well,
Mhm.
speaking of not skin color, but I was just looking at this. Check out that art. That's some good art right there on that page.
Yes, yes, I was going to comment on the art here. It's always fun to see that, and we have Dooku right here as well. And so now he's done doing his task. He met fear in the face and overcame now, and so they're getting ready to, you know, power up and take off. And he's all, Dad, we have an incoming transmission. And he's all, Jango Fett, and he's all, Count Dooku. And then he's all, could you ask the boy to, and then Jango says, anything you have to say to me, you can say it in front of Boba. So he was really involved with his clone, his boy, and he's all, very well. Far be it from me to offer parenting advice to an assassin.
Uh-huh.
That was kind of like an insult in no sense. That was like a little sting there. Good for you, Dooku. I have a mission for you, Fett. There is a man who represents a danger to our operation on Camino. He has sensitive information that must not find its way into the wrong hands. So the plot thickens there. And so he goes on to say, this is the man my agents tracked him to Talos on the planet Zuri. There you go. He never removes his helmet. It may hide his identity, but it certainly doesn't make him hard to find. Foolish, if you ask me. So there we go. So we have someone that is hiding behind his mask, and you'll find out who this is, Teresa, and you'll find out, oh, well, okay, I understand why he, you know, wears a mask and stuff like that. No, it's not foolish, because Jango, basically, you know, he comes from Mandalorian culture. If he's has information in his head, it makes sense for him to protect his head from being shot off, which is another good point. Trust me, I get shot a lot, but why do you need me if you know where this man is? So he makes some good points there. And that's the whole point of Mandalorian armor and Mandalorian helmets, to keep them from getting shot and hurt. Yeah. And I'll go back to it. The Book of Boba Fett does not understand that.
Well, I don't watch it, so I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't his helmet like much at all, especially in combat.
Yeah.
Which is very, very odd right now so far. You know, and then so he goes on to say, Dooku goes on to say, I need to guarantee this happens. This man is dangerous, Jango. So he goes, and then Boba says, no one is a danger as my dad, or dangerous as my dad. So there you go. So he's making there. Yeah, well, the facts, you know, he is that son, you know, so he has a point. You know,
he loves his daddy.
Yes, he does. So there's a bit of like, you know, like fatherly son relationship here going on, which is why precisely I've asked your father to perform this task. Also, my hand cannot be perceived in this. Okay, so he can't be known that he's sending. Don't worry, it won't be. And then Dooku goes on to say, I should explain how he obtained this information. And then, no, I don't care. Pay me well, and I will kill this man. So there we go. So there we go. So he has a bounty to go get this guy who has this information that will damage information about what's going on at Camino and stuff like that. So very interesting and very good, like character development between Jango and Boba and Boba's early life. So let's see here. And then Max Relax says, I also haven't seen Book of Boba Fett. KK is still in charge, so I'm out. Yes, she is. And again, I will reiterate that she has even stated in an interview that she is involved with TV shows because she's learning how the difference between production on a film versus production for TV series.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, it's Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars. And I mean, if people like Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars, and many are, I see a lot of people are really enjoying the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, go for it. I mean, it's free country.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing here. I will not chastise my chat if they don't agree with me. I've seen, I've been watching some YouTube channels, and I've seen one or two that really cuss out their people in the chat when they disagree, call them names, tell them that they're stupid. And I'm like, why are you guys supporting this person, for doing something like that? You're allowing this behavior and this person to continue by going back and back for more. Is it just for the drama? Probably. Who knows? I don't condone it. So like, if you disagree, yeah, I might have a discussion. Sometimes it may sound heated, and that's fine. But the thing is, I'm not going to say you're stupid or ignorant or whatever. For that, if you like Disney Star Wars, more power to you. I prefer George Lucas era, and this is what I'm giving you here. So there we go. And then Lady Toriel comes in with, that's true soul. Love my blades, sharpen them all the time. Check her out.
Don't mess with Lady Toriel.
Right. She's like, dun, dun, dun. And she's like, and you could just see her like with her stone sharpening her blade, sing, sling, sling. Or depending on like, I know how to sharpen stuff, so I know how that sounds and all that. Check you out. All right. So they are flying in, it looks like Coruscant. So good. Rather than waste time haggling, I have doubled our standard starting point. So I think that might have been Dooku. And then your learning count. Yeah, that is. Attention ship entering planet's atmosphere. This is Atzar traffic. Oh, it's Atzar. It almost looks like Coruscant, like the industrial district, I guess you can say. This is Atzar traffic control. So, and then, so he goes on to say, ship's pilot, is this your first visit to Atzuri? He's like, no. Oh, good. Then you already know how this works. The landing fee negotiation can. And then he goes, this is Jango Fett. And then he's like, what? He kind of has that expression like, what? And then he goes on to say, great, good for you. You know your own name now. Now he's being sarcastic. And this other guy's like, what? Emma, are you crazy? Elmio. So his name is Elmio, like Elmo, but with the yo. Elmio. Hey, you're going to break the calm. And he's like, do you seriously not know who Jango Fett is? And then he goes, I'm sorry, Sir Fett, sir. We're training new recruits, a very stupid new recruit. He goes on to say, trying to make sure they don't get blasted out of atmosphere. If you can simply find some way to prove you are who you say you are. And then he's, of course, look at that.
Oh, boom, boom. I don't even know what that is. Is that a bunch of M's at the end?
Yeah, it is. Like exaggerated.
Gee whiz. I feel like I'm an animal.
A little bit animalistic there. And then he goes on to say, or Boba says, I want to come with you. I can handle it. Besides, it's not like anyone is stupid enough to steal your ship, Dad. So there we go. So we already know that, he is Boba's or Jango's, copy. So we already know that he has that same stature, same mindset and stuff like that. and he wants to go. So that's already established. So I will go there again. Why isn't he like this in the Book of Boba Fett? Why is he like, seems like he's cowering a lot? Or, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's a huge disconnect. A huge disconnect. And what was, and you know, I like Tamora Morrison or whatever. I like him. You know, always have. And this is not against him, it's against the character. But I will say this, Tamora basically said, I met with Filoni on some pointers, you know, because Filoni knows the ins and out basically of Boba Fett. And I have to laugh about that because no, he doesn't.
Now, I mean, I don't think that they consider the EU content, and they don't pay attention to EU content because they themselves said that they decanonized it, even though they rip it off now and then. And gotta be fair to Tim whatever Morrison, I don't want to say mispronounce his name. The dude's probably so happy that he's working in a lead show, in a big show, like for an actor.
Yes.
It's a big deal, especially for someone that, from what I understand, hasn't done a lot of lead characters, or perhaps has never been the lead character. So of course he's going to say whatever he needs to say, to promote his show.
Right. And, you know, so I just laugh at the hypocrisy of that because I'm like, you know, he doesn't know the extent. I don't think he knows the extent of like what fans have seen with Filoni and how Filoni is very dishonest about things. So like this is not against Tamora either, like his talk. It just reiterates that, you know, that Filoni doesn't know shit. And he thinks that continuity is for wimps. And that was probably, you know, he tried to say, well, George said that and he meant it. No, that's probably a joke because when you look at Star Wars in general, everything had pretty well done continuity, with the exception of the Clone Wars, which basically George turned over to Dave as the supervisor when he started doing other productions.
Yeah. Well, and the only time that George perhaps messed around a bit with continuity, it was on small things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's not fully beholden to keep to continuity or the EU, but he has honored it. He has used it. In fact, the prequel trilogy world building is the EU. So when people say, it was never, or George didn't like it and it was never canon and he blah, 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 blah. I'm like, really? Did you watch the prequel trilogy? Basically, the whole world building situation is off of the EU.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what I was saying, you know, that there's some small details, like, for example, the whole with Leia remembering Padme and all that. And a few of the things like where he probably wouldn't have had Leia and Luke making out if he had been entirely certain that he was going to make Leia them brother and sister. Just things like that. They're minor details, but they're not lore breaking.
No, it's just deciding to change a little bit of the story traction, I guess you can say, which didn't really hurt the story because we had no idea anyways.
Yeah.
You know, so then Maxwell asks, oh, so question to the panel on the chat, is Boba Fett's helmet a helmet or does it have some other name? It is a Mandalorian helmet, and traditionally they are made from Beskar gam. And but not all of it, but it's all linked to Mandalorian armor, Mandalorian you know, the suit and everything. And yeah, so that's basically how the best way I can describe that is that it's Mandalorian armor. Majority of the time it's made of Beskar gam, and it protects the body. It's very resistant to lightsabers. The original lore, it's resistant to lightsabers. In the Disney lore, it's somewhat resistant. Like after a few strikes, then the armor does start, you know, giving way. So depending on which lore you look at, the Beskar gam is different in a sense. So there you go. So there's a little history on that.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah, you're like, what she said. I got her back. So let's go on here. I want to come. Okay, yeah, he says, I want to come with you, blah, 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 blah. And then he's you'd be surprised how stupid people can be. Yeah, I could probably use that panel, this little panel here today regarding Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett. And he goes on to say, but yes, I want you with me. There's something about this one that I don't like. So basically he's listened to his gut feeling, like I have a bad feeling about this kind of deal. Then he goes on to say, always trust your intuition, Boba. It's something stupid people forget to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this panel right here can go with what's going on today. And then of course he's holding on to him. I don't know why he didn't have him put on his stuff, but it is what it is. So he's using his jetpack, they fly again, so that's something I like to joke around all the time because that was such a stupid line. And then they're flying to their location here using jetpack, and he's all right, helmet man. And then so that's the guy he's looking for. That's what the helmet looks like. And then he's let's see if you're home. And I think you might be surprised on who this person's going to be. So I'm not going to spoil it for you. If we know he's in that room, why don't we just go down there and take him out? And then so Jango responds in, if there's a way to neutralize a target without direct confrontation, it's always the better option. So we're seeing the strategy unfold here, basically. And this is a very good learning lesson for Boba. And then so Boba says, without confrontation, you made me confront the Belyag. So, of course, he's questioning him a little bit. And he goes and Jango goes back with, yes, that was a different lesson. So he's letting him know that's a different lesson. And then so basically he goes on to say, now don't rush, wait as long as it takes. And he's like, me? Yes, sir. So he's basically making Boba a sniper.
Mm-hmm.
Set up right there. So, and I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, I mean, you've got it there. And let's take this little kid, man, make him into a nice little killer. Yay.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what Disney hated for Disney Lucasfilm, because they can't have this kind of trope.
Oh, you're right. The total assassin.
Yeah.
You gotta make the assassin with a heart of gold, not really wanting to be bad.
Like they did to Corella. They made her like a bad guy to sympathize with too.
Oh, now it makes sense, actually. I don't know what planet I've been living on, but it's like, because of their Disney.
Yeah, the light bulb went off on. Ding! You're like, oh,
ding,
shit.
Ding, ding, ding. Like, can't be having kids want to be assassins and with Slave One, all of that bullshit.
Yeah, because it harkens back to guns and shootings at schools and stuff like that. We can't encourage that stuff.
Yeah, I can't encourage that, even though it's all called Star Wars.
Yeah, and it's a fantasy. I forgot who or what senator said that, but they're like, basically shooting games and stuff like that, and similar games like that is the cause of why kids are doing what they're doing today.
No, kids are doing what they're doing today because they've all turned into a bunch of psychos.
Yeah,
and they've been allowed to be. Yeah, and they're not dealing with the psychos. They're like, hey, this kid's a psycho. He might shoot up the school. Okay, let's just put him back in class with everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that you have stories and stuff. And
oh yeah. Well, that's what happened with the last school shooting, and I think that they're talking about maybe suing the administration and stuff. It's like, hey, this teacher reported this guy was, got bullets and all this stuff, and looking all this stuff up, and you're like, well, okay, well, we'll deal with it later. But meanwhile, send him back to class. And it kind of shoots up the school. But I digress. That's for another discussion. Anyone want to bring me on to tell you what's really going on in schools? And all I got to say is find out who's sitting in your child's classroom. That's all I'll say about that.
Right. And it all goes back to parenting as well. It's not the gun's fault. And it goes back to what the culture inside the family, what's going on there. That's all.
Yeah. And mental illness as well. Mental illness, and we're not allowed to treat mental illness anymore, and that's another issue.
Right. Man, I feel like we have digressed so bad.
Yeah, we have digressed. Yeah, sorry, but we're talking about a psycho kid who's shooting things up. I guess what we're saying, disclaimer, we don't think it's good for real life.
Right. This is true to story. This is a different, it's not our reality or whatever. And this is about a family of bounty hunters, assassins, what have you. So here we go. So never should you think that this is gonna like entice someone to act and be that way. If it does, then maybe you have to look at the situation in the family and not the franchise. That it's not a part, that it's not a part of our world. But anyways, I digress from all of that. Let's get into this as we look at little Boba with his gun, his blaster, getting ready to snipe. Jango says, "Patient, Boba," and you see his crosshairs, and he's waiting. He's looking through. He's being patient. He's waiting, and then he gets Helmet Man right there in his target. Look at that. Mm-hmm. So there's the Helmet Man, and then he shoots. So there we go. Boo. Mm-hmm. You're like, boo. And then, and then there we go. So he gets the Helmet Man. And then Jango uses his jetpacks to, go down, land onto the ground there. And he's like, stay here. And so Boba's looking over and he stays. And this is where, and I'll just say this right now, this is where Boba doesn't know exactly what's going on because it doesn't see everything. And there's a reason why I'm saying this. Like later on the story, it reveals a lot more. Yeah. So this is a great series. So like Teresa, I think you would enjoy this, and you would like, even if you didn't really care for or follow Boba Fett, at least you get an understanding of who he is and what's going on with him and Jango and what's going to happen here. And I'll tell you, you'll see exactly. So he kicks in the door, he goes in, and they have a fight. They have a scrimmage, So basically he's shot, but he's still capable of moving around and stuff. And of course, adrenaline helps you overcome in that situation as long as it lasts. And so he grabs him by his neck, and then he says, "Who sent you? Who sent you?" And so they wrestle around, and looks like he turns on his, I don't know, is that a little, is he firing there? Is that a blaster? I forget. Anyways, and, he says, "Ugh," and it says, "It doesn't matter. Nothing matters for you anymore." So that's not nice to say when he's like, "It doesn't matter anymore. You're dead."
Yep.
Your life is gone, so it doesn't matter anymore. You don't need to know the truth. And he's like, "I know you." And he's like, "I don't care. What are you doing?" You'll find out why he says he knows him. And then he's like, "What are you doing?" He's taking off his helmet. "You don't understand." Boom. "I know you." Jango's looking at himself in the face.
And
then
like, wait a second.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the multiverse.
Exactly. And then Jango's like, his expression on his face is like, what? So he's looking at that. That has to be the weirdest feeling ever. Yeah, he knows that he's been cloned, but this basically is a clone that defected, I guess you could say, early on. Mm-hmm. And so there it goes. So this is where I told you that you'll understand what's going on once we get to that. And I didn't want to spoil this for you. So.
Oh, no, go right ahead. I'm all right. It's my fault.
Yeah. And so we have that. And let me see here. Oh, I have a super chat here. Oh, and also a $5 super chat. Oh, on my lunch break now. So I'm listening and glad to finally make it in. Well, thank you so much. You are getting some true Boba, Jango, original lore, content here right now. And so this builds up, Teresa, and there's a reason why, like I said, this guy defected. And the story goes on later to, this is like father and sons. So if you can kind of put 2 and 2 together, Jango and his son and this clone, and possibly, and that's the only spoiler I'm giving you, and his son. So there's a whole little arc going on here. And it's very interesting. And then we get to learn about Boba's family a little bit in this too. So, yeah, let me see the time here. Okay, we have time to do the next one. And then that's it. So since I don't want to leave it too much on a cliffhanger, so let me get the other one up.
Okay. By the way, dun, 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 for the cliffhanger.
Right. I love that. See, you need to come on more often to be my sound effect and stuff like that.
You mean
Oh,
Steve doesn't sing and do sound effects? And...
no, he doesn't. He does puns and insults.
I know, yeah. I could just see him. He's over there going, that's. I know what he would say. I don't think I can repeat what he would say.
Exactly. Yeah, so he does that. So let me go ahead. So we're going into part 2 of Sons and Fathers in the series. So I'll just go ahead and get that up. I wish there was like an easier way instead of like click, click, click. Sometimes I feel like I'm taking too long. There we go. So here it is. So here's part 2 of Blood Ties of Fathers and Sons. So, and like I said, this is great character arc to compare and contrast to what we're seeing with the Book of Boba Fett when it comes to Boba Fett's character traits and all that. And so this is why I'm like, this is such a disconnect with Disney Lucasfilm. I understand that they're like, okay, we want to reboot and make our own lore. But the thing is like, okay, so bring your own characters and make your own lore. But when it comes to those characters that are already established, maybe you should still stay true to what was intended for them. And so that's how I see it's such a very ugly disconnect. And then Soul Assassin Jango isn't surprised that a clone would leave. He helped smuggle out a clone named Spar, I believe, after a doctor told him about the clone's attitude. Yeah. But he's still surprised at the situation. When you're going to assassin someone, and that person you're assassin looks exactly like you, there is a bit of there is that bit of shock. Like killing yourself, like you're killing yourself in a way. And so Matt G says, at OG Star Wars, were you... Oh, did I miss it? I'm sorry. Let me pull it up here. Here it is. Sorry. And Book of Boba Fett sounds like a religious show. Yeah, it is. It does. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I didn't mean to miss it. Yeah, it kind of does. It's like, well, I wouldn't say religious, but it's going into spiritual stuff.
Yeah. And as a religious person, I can just say this. I want to keep my religion in church. I don't want to be seeing it.
Right. The only thing that is like spiritual or religious is basically the Force in a sense.
Yeah, but it's not preachy and they don't like it. It doesn't feel like real world stuff. I think that's the key.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you can be that creative and that imaginative to where you can look at the spirituality in a franchise and maybe even possible religion, and you can kind of relate to it, because that's what they're supposed to do, is like go into mythos so that you can relate to it, right? But it doesn't feel like your own world, then exactly. I think they're successful. And that's what I think. Mm-hmm. And I think people tend to forget that, and they want to feel included and have characters make them feel included, which makes it very shallow. Whether it's the the situation, their wants, their wishes makes everything very shallow.
Yeah, well, it comes off as hokey, to be honest. In trivializing, actually.
Yeah, that hokey religion, like
yeah, hokey. Yeah, exactly. The thing that made Han Solo not like it.
I don't believe in that hokey religion, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's awesome. So here we go. So here's Boba and then Jango right there. We're getting into the second half. I'm not going to read the synopsis there, but here we go. So it was the first time, and this is probably Jango's thoughts, I believe, the first time a Fett held a blaster to his own face. That is crazy. Just imagine that. You did allow yourself to be marketed as such for clones, for troops, right? Yeah. And your own likeness and everything like that, but then having to come face to face to one to kill your own self, that is I wouldn't say it's life-changing, but that would surely shock you.
Yeah, it would be triggering. Oh my gosh.
There we go. It'd be triggering. Right. And then he's like, a clone. So there we go. And he says, I didn't want to be a soldier. I escaped. That was stupid, Jango tells him. I didn't say anything to anyone. I just wanted a life. Wow. Okay. So he's like pleading with him, like, like I have nothing to do with anything. I just want to live my life. And says, you had one. It's over now. Ooh. Yeah, that's tough. Can you really do it? Can you shoot yourself?
I don't know.
There's some psychology, like some psychological shit going on right here.
They're gonna end up in therapy over this.
Yes, exactly. And then so you have him with that expression, and then he's looking down like shit. He has a point. That's how I see that. And then, could you do it? And he's like, no. And so we have that, and then basically he does shoot him. And then that's because you're not me. So he has that. Would that be cognitive dissonance? I can't even talk.
Cognitive dissonance.
There we go. Like, have been in denial of the situation.
Yeah, maybe out of sight, out of mind, maybe.
Right? Yeah.
Not actually had to deal with it.
Yeah, because he's saying that you're not me, even though that it's a clone of him. So he's saying that you're not human in a sense, maybe that you're just a product. But then he says that to that clone, but then his own very own quote unquote son is a copy of him. Yeah. So that's weird. That's crazy. I'm just pointing out the little like nuances here of like to make people think.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And one could argue that's the whole problem with the whole ethics of the cloning and the way they did it in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was a bad idea.
Yeah, we're getting into the deep psychology of this. Like how would it make, like the actual person who allowed himself to be market, how would it make him feel if he has to confront without knowing and stuff like that, and you have to have tough skin. And I think that's what Jango's trying to do, is like he's trying to separate himself from them because they are just products. Boba Fett, not necessarily to him, because even though he was cloned after him, he seen him as a son. And so there's that little differences of like separating the two. And
yeah, absolutely. And that's what makes this kind of fun. Look at the face. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then he says something blip or something like that. So I guess he's like, no, please. And then so basically there is a woman there, and she's like, please. And then it's the baby that's making the sounds, the baby sounds. And
she's the baby.
Right, you're gonna find out
your little face.
I know. You're gonna find out who this is. Please don't. And then this child, it's his, so it's the clone's child.
Oh.
Please don't hurt him. And he's like, "Hey boy, what's his name?" Connor Freeman. And that's funny how that's the name that clone decides to give himself, because he's a free man.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, Freeman? And he's all, Dad. So he sees him as his dad because he doesn't.
Daddy.
That has to be hit hard when this baby recognizes Jango as his dad, because, of course, his father is a clone of him.
Yeah, it looks exactly like him. Of course, the little boy thinks that.
Yeah, look at that. And that's like, that would be shocking. Look at his face. Look at his face. He's like, what?
Yeah.
And the thing is with the Fetts, they weren't totally heartless either. And I think Disney took that too literally for the Book of Boba Fett. They were ruthless men. Yes, they were. Their professions was to kill, whether if it was a bounty or assassin, and depending on the contract,
it was whatever they were paid to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Attack of the Clones shows really well, as does this comic, the great love between Jango Fett and his son Boba Fett. So, obviously they were capable of feeling and loving their family. Right.
And so this goes into the softer side, I guess you'd say, of the Fetts or Jango. And if you know Jango's history, before he took on this whole arc of being cloned and being an assassin and stuff like that, he was a journeyman protector. He was a foundling of the Mandalorian, basically becoming a Mandalorian. So they do have their codes, and then part of their code is basically family. And family doesn't necessarily consist of blood either. Family is like, other people too that you adopt in and stuff like that. So it wasn't just as shallow or as thick as blood, it expanded more past that. And so, that harkens to his expression here and how he's feeling about this, because that's family structure is a part of culture for him. Mm-hmm. And so we have her saying, why do you have my husband's face? And I don't think she understands. Like, I don't think even her husband even told her that he was a clone. That was my gist of that. She's like, I don't understand. And he puts on his helmet and says, and because you don't understand, you get to live.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool line.
Mm-hmm. And because no one paid me to kill you. He's like, there's no money in this anyways. And so he takes off. So he does what he did. He assassins his clone here, realized he had a family that kind of hits the heartstrings there. He lets them live because basically they're not involved in the contract, and she doesn't understand. He's showing some remorse. And this goes into Boba's arc too later on in this comic series. And I think I'll go ahead and continue this all the way through, and then we'll get back to Dina Shawn's arc in the Rebellion Empire comics that we've been covering, because I think it's very important to give everybody the true original arc of Boba and Jango, since we're having this new stuff coming out.
Well,
So
I mean, this stuff is badass. I mean, it's awesome. It's well written. It's fun. It's all of that. And look at that art. I'm sorry, but look at him blasting off. That is so cool.
Yes, exactly. It's like dun dun dun. All right. So, and did you get him, Dad? And he's like, Dad. So he doesn't know exactly the context of what happened. And this goes on later on in the series, to where he has his own revelation with Connor. So there's a little bit of hint there. There's a little bit of spoiler, but not much. Is something wrong? And he goes, we're leaving. And so they take off, and he's holding on to his son, and they're blasting away. And now he's looking through, and he's contemplating. Such a great contemplation like art right here.
Mm-hmm.
You see the lightning, the rain going down. He is beside himself with the assassin, contract that he took from Dooku. He's probably trying to put things together. And again, he had to assassin. He didn't know who the person was. He told Dooku that he didn't really need to know, and found out that it's basically him. He went to assassin himself. And so that was kind of, like, I wouldn't, again, this is not PTSD, but it does make you think.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And look at that. You can see him.
Yeah. The reflection.
Gosh, so good.
Yes, exactly. He's like, Dad. And then he says, it's nasty business sometimes, but it is just business. We don't make this personal. And that's where Jango or Boba gets that, and from, that type of mentality is from Jango. And he'll, why don't you pilot us out of here? And he's like, really? So he's excited. He has no idea what his dad went through, right? But he's excited that he gets to pilot. And so he's like, really, Boba, anywhere you want to go. We've earned a day off. Let's go spend some credits. And so he takes, like a good father, he's like, because he's seen reality in the face. He assassinated someone who had a family that he didn't know. And it was his clone, and his clone had a kid, a young son, and he has a young son. That, that does kind of like pull the heartstrings a little bit and makes you think, So, and then he says, and about what happened on the planet, don't worry. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah. Well, and gosh, I just love the symbolism of that scene. It shows everything that had been going on, everything that we were just talking about.
Exactly. Very good stuff. I, like I said, I've been sharing like little clips of these panels here on Twitter just to, show, the authentic Boba Fett and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? I need to just go ahead and just give these comics on Coffee Chat and just go through it. And then we have Soul Assassin. Jango did see his original family get killed by the original Death Watch, and later his adoptive father and family killed by Death Watch again. Yeah, he's gone through a lot. So again, that even goes deep further into, family ties and stuff like that. And, going through, and if anybody should have any type of PTSD, if we're going to even use those words, whatever, that maybe would be Jango, but not, we're looking at Star Wars where they respond differently than how we respond today in our own reality.
Yeah.
So I don't even think that would be even a proper analogy or a proper, description to some of these characters who are taught to look past stuff like that. So, yeah, exactly. And then here we have that right here. So look at that. So we're harkening to Attack of the Clones. And let me go back to my screen here so I can change pages. My father and I never got to speak. He was murdered by a madman. So there we go. And this is what they did good, is that they gave a different perspective of Boba thinking back at the time on Geonosis. And poor Raging Rhino, he compared screenshots on how the small mistake, it's not that big of a deal, but basically, when you have the technology and you have the movie to, source your material from, maybe you should, make sure that, it's somewhat accurate to the original scene,
Mm-hmm.
and it just like made everybody explode. I mean, he friggin' rattled that cage and everybody exploded. Like, oh, well, little young Boba probably didn't remember the lizard, the reek. And that's why we don't see it. And they strawmanned all kinds of excuses for that mistake that, the creators made. This is a better way of looking back at, at remembering, is maybe showing the perspective of like Boba up close, like here in this picture.
Yes.
Instead of giving the same scene.
Look at that. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. This is better done than what they try to do in the Book of Boba Fett. And then so basically he says, I would have avenged him. I would have killed the man who took my father from me. But this too was taken from me. I have grown since then. The man who killed my father is long gone, but my anger remains. See, confirmed, he's dead. People want him to come back to for the Book of Boba Fett so they can have some kind of like revenge arc.
Gosh darn it, look at this. I mean, I'm excited about this. This is fun. This is better
Exactly.
than on TV.
Exactly. If they would have done a different perspective of Boba, like looking back at Attack of the Clones and looking down at his dad's helmet like this, like a close-up, that would be much better because it's more intimate and you could see the expression of his face. Having the same shot where you don't see the expression of his face doesn't do anything really. It just is a member berry.
Yeah, they completely missed the boat by not keeping this content and using these to adapt as shows, because especially with the actor who plays Boba Fett right now is a little too old to play like the young Boba Fett, but still, they could use all.
Well, they're CGI. They're doing CGI to do face structure and stuff now. Look what they did for Luke in The Mandalorian. So there's no excuse that they couldn't have had someone with similar hair, skin color, whatever, and then CGI the face on there.
It's possible, yeah. But either way, there's ways around it that you can still have it. This would be very good. This is very
Yeah, exactly. Imagine a close-up of him remembering looking down at the helmet with his expression on his face, like this panel here. That pulls more heartstrings and gets you into the moment than seeing just a recreated screenshot picture of Attack of the Clones. Yes. So here we go. And then so we go on here. So now we're in the future. He's grown now here, and he's coming off of slave one. It looks like, what have you got from me? And then so this is a Mun right here that he's talking to. It's good to see you too, Boba Fett. And he goes, I have no patience today, Galeen. Bounties. So his name is Galeen. So he's a Mun named Galeen. There are a number of bounties that may interest you, but I thought as your banker that I should alert you to one in particular. Mm-hmm. This bounty is a man called Connor Freeman.
Oh my gosh.
Dun, dun, dun. And so here we go. So Connor Freeman, that's not a large bounty. And then so basically he goes on to say, the name isn't familiar to you. Boba asks, it should be. or should it be? And he goes, I thought your father. And then he's like, never mind. So you'll find out more here soon. So let's see here. No, if you're unaware of the information, then it would be illegal to. And he goes, you're a good businessman. You're a good banker. But you are still a banker, and I will shoot you in the head without a second's thought if you don't finish what you were going to say. So let me go ahead and plug in my laptop before I lose you here. I don't need a disconnect.
Before it becomes a Teresa Martin show. Where...
Right. Until I reboot again. There we go. It's plugged in. All right. Because I don't need any more mishaps. So basically we have, him presenting information to him. We know it's about Connor Freeman. We know who he is now. And so, but we don't know why. Or at least you don't know why.
Yes.
And some people in the chat don't know why. Those who know this comic, then you know why. Connor Freeman has received small payments from an inheritance fund every week since he was a year old. And I'll get to the point. Last week, he emptied the accounts. The inheritance fund, it was set up by Jango Fett just before and then he's like, who is this man? Who was he to my father? He's like, I don't know. I promise. It would be so much easier to answer your questions if I wasn't so afraid for my life. So there we go. So there you go. So there's a little plot twist in that.
Yeah.
So Jango felt so bad that he set up a trust fund for him, basically, or inheritance fund for Freeman.
Well, there you go. You see, they do have hearts.
Yeah, they do have hearts in a sense. Like I said, it probably harkens back to the Mandalorian culture that Jango was raised in.
Yes.
So you care for family and so on and stuff. Why the bounty on Freeman? He owes a lot of credits to the wrong man. So the plot thickens here, Teresa.
Dun, dun, dun.
A vicious, powerful crime lord by the name of Tand. Do you know him? He asks Jango. Yes, he's a dangerous and absolutely insane. We know that Jango and even Boba has dealt with people who are totally out of their minds, very dangerous and all that. So dealing with a Sarlacc should be nothing really, and so that's another disconnect with Disney and this character. So I'm just going to put in little points that might sting people, and I apologize if it does, but sometimes the truth hurts. Boom.
You're not sorry.
Don't say that when you don't mean it, Alora. So here we go. I'll take the job. So now he has to figure out this mystery. So he's going to take the job. He's going to find out, and he's going to, he needs this answered. Why is his father? Why did he set up this inheritance for him? He's all, you're sure? I have some bigger bounties if you'd. And he's like, no, I want to know why this man is special. I want to find out what's so important about the name. So there we go. So here we go. There is Connor. So the guy says Connor Freeman, and he is passed out on the counter on the bar. And he's all, Connor, there's someone who wants to see you. And he's like, what? And then what now? I'm in bed. You're not in bed. You're asleep.
Turned into a loser.
You'll find out what's going on. You'll find out the more depth of this, what's going on here. But yeah, that's what it looks like. You're asleep on my bar again. And he's all, admittedly, you're probably asleep here more than you do in your own bed. It's comfy, he says. So he's being like, I would say maybe sarcastic or whatever. I don't know. And then he's like, this little, I don't know if this guy coming in says, Connor Freeman. He's like, go away. Can't you see I'm in bed? He's like, I'm sleeping. I'm going to sleep. You're worth quite a bit of money, so wake up. And then this guy looks friendly Quinny. And then so nope, you got a blaster. Yup. And so you could see he's got, of course, any bartender in the galaxy should have something underneath and armed, because you never know. That's what we've learned throughout Star Wars history. You never know. You got to be prepared. So there we go. If you kill anyone other than this guy, you're picking up the tab. Yeah. And he's all hands up. And he goes back and he does a Han Solo shot and shoots him from behind, or like from where he's at without looking, and kills him on the spot. And he's all, thanks. And he's like, sure. So you could tell maybe he's done this before.
Yeah. Boom. Wait, what's it? Badow? What the hell even is that? Badow!
Badow! I'm pretty sure
that's messed up.
Right. And I'm pretty sure the chat love that. Badow! All right. And he's like, I'm going to go sleep in a real bed. He's like, I doubt that. And he's like, ahem. And then he's like telling him, he's asking for, I guess, credits or whatever. He's like, oh, come on. He's like, I'm not cleaning up your mess for you. So basically he wants him to clean everything up before he leaves and stuff like that. And he's like, come on now. So, he's this bum. We're seeing him as a bum right now. That
Loser.
Yeah, that has a relationship with the bartender. So we know they have a relationship because they put up with each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's some kind of friendship. So, and nowadays when you say relationship, people think it's gay or whatever. No, relationship could be friendship and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So he drags him out. He's all, you big, stupid, dead, heavy. And then he hears a shot. And then he counters fire. And then there's another person after him right there. And Badoo, that one's better. Badoo.
Badoo.
Yep. And then get back here. And so he runs off. And look who it is. We got, I'm that, or he says, that's a dead end. So basically they're telling him that's a dead end, and he runs to it, blast. And so he has to fight for his life. And it says, come on, show yourselves. I've got some nice blaster fire waiting here for you. And then it's hard to sneak up on someone. And then so he senses Boba coming down behind him. And then when you're wearing a loud jetpack, and then so he grabs the blaster from his hand, and he's like, huh? So he snuck up on him. He took control of the situation, took the blaster from him. And now young Connor is like, what the hell's going on here?
Exactly.
So, and then we get here, and this is Boba's thought, I believe. And there he was standing in front of me. So now he sees Connor, and he's like, okay. He goes, I don't know who you are, Connor Freeman. How did you? And then he hits him on the head with his helmet.
King.
But I always collect. Yes, you do.
Yes.
And that's the end of that. So we are going to stop here. We're going to end here.
Okay, wait. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, let's see here. And Matt G has another super chat for me. $5. Thank you so much. 90% of this sounds way better than the show, except for him being married. I respectfully think that's a bad idea and would think Disney had made that up. Not really. If Matt, did you read the whole story of that and what had happened? I think that it gave Boba a chance to say, I want to try to be quote unquote normal and settle down. Because family was always, he lost his father. He lost a chance to see what a family really is. And he wanted that. And he tried it. Stuff happened. And he went back to bounty hunting. So I don't think that Disney would even be able to write that type of nuanced characterization for Boba, honestly. And so you, Teresa, you knew he got married, right? And that he had a child.
Oh yeah, and that she played a big part. She was friends with Jaina, or rather his granddaughter was one.
Yeah. And so it gives a chance for Boba at the time to try to be, I guess you say, quote unquote normal and have a family life. And when a situation happens, and I don't know if you know the whole story, so I'm not going to reveal it to you, Teresa, I'll let you discover as these comics move on.
Yeah.
He handles a situation where it puts him and his wife and his family in an awkward situation, and he feels like that normal life he can adapt to in a sense, and so he goes back to his ways, the only way he knows how. And that's even explained later on when he talks to his granddaughter. So that if you've that arc goes back to this, and continuity, right?
Yeah.
and so so it's that great story. If Disney attempted to do that, I think they would have not been successful either. I think that this was well done for his character. Soul Assassin says, I thought that was Zuckus for a minute. Laugh out loud.
Oh, no.
Immersion. And then let's see here. Lady Toriel says, Laura, I think you missed one of my super chats. Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see here.
I suck because I guess I'm supposed to be your wingman. I didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
I read one. Let's see here. I read one. So if you sent two, I'm sorry. I'm scrolling up. There we go. I found it. So there it is. Miss Martin Muse or Lady Tori at $5 says, check out Miss Martin Muse's channel for more sound effects and lots of great topics. She is awesome lady. Yes, she is. Thank you so much. Woo. And I apologize. I switched my screen view, so I only solely see the comic, and I apologize. And Teresa, no, it's okay. That you missed and stuff too. We were totally into the comic. We were both totally into it. And but thank you so much as well, you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Let's see here.
Chaos has one, I think.
Missing a super chat. Oh, there we go. Yes, that's Matt G's. There we go. They're like, Laura, get on it. But again, like I was saying, that I was totally reading and didn't see them come in. I was on a different screen. On my lunch break now, so I'm listening and gladly finally making it in. I did read that one. Was there another one? I don't see.
Just Abu Nas's one there.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be a better Steeg next time.
He's like, Laura, you got a super chat because I'm not looking at the screen, but that's okay. Like I said, we are both totally into it. Thank you guys so much for that, and for reminding me, because even if I'm on it, sometimes it is missed, and and I don't want to ignore that as well, for your contributions to the channel. Thank you so much. So Chaos Man says, I do often wonder how much people would have reacted to the daughter of Han being trained by Boba. It would certainly have been better student-mentor relationship than what we got with Luke and Rey. That was amazing interaction, because they didn't have to destroy Boba's character for him to interact with Jaina, who was a main character's, kid. They still kept true to Boba Fett's character, how he responds to her, all of that. And I thought that was amazing how they made their relationship, so. And it was, so I think that it was well done. They didn't have to assassinate a character for another character, basically. So, and I think in a way, like even with this new Boba Fett, that his character still downplayed due to his sidekick, and I don't think that they know how to keep a character intact with his own personality and stuff when they introduce other characters and stuff. And that's just my observance. I haven't seen them maintain characters well at all. So Matt G says it's admittedly a gut reaction at Soul Assassin. So they're discussing amongst each other's. So Teresa, so tell me what you thought about what you've seen so far.
Oh, I think it's a blast. Some of this content, I was never a huge bounty hunter, Boba Jango stuff, so that's kind of why I think I skipped over a lot of that. It just wasn't for me. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm finding it so engrossing. I was being a bad girl and not yelling at you. The way Steeg. Well, Steeg doesn't yell. He is firm. He's firm.
Right.
When you do something. Like he would have said, "What? You have a super chat, you twat."
Yeah, he missed the super chat. Yeah. And then he may add a little bit of a fun insult, I guess you could say, if that's, even make sense because we
Well,
know
yeah,
that
like I said, he would call you a twat. Yeah, I didn't even know what that meant until my dad, like 2 years ago, was like, you do realize what that means, don't you?" Because everyone was saying it. I'm like, no, but I digress. No, I love it. I think it's loads of fun. I think the art is good, the symbolism is good,
Mhm.
and shame on me for missing out on it. Was this in the 2000s, like after Revenge of the Sith that this came out?
I believe so. I usually
Yeah.
go check back on the dates on it.
Yeah, it's very possible, and that's also might be why I missed it because I did not read a lot of the prequel stuff after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. In fact, the script is Tom Tyler. The art is from Chris Scalf. Lettering Michael Heisler. Cover art Chris Scalf. So let's see here. I'm looking for the copyright date on here. Oh, the little letters.
We're
Let me
all
see.
going blind.
Yeah, so it doesn't exactly say on this, but it probably says on my actual hard copy. But yeah, so this is basically, prequel era time. Basically, we know, well, parts of it was, and then it goes into post Return of the Jedi stuff, I believe, or it could be classical times. So, excuse me, my sinuses are kind of messy today, but yeah, so like it's very good content here. You kind of get into the clones and how that still might be a little bit troubling for Jango to encounter sometimes when it's not expected, as we've seen. You get like different perspective of these characters and how they think and they feel in situations as well. So it's very fun to read. Now I know other comic line I'll need to hunt down. Ha ha ha. Yeah, do it. Like I said, so the next one, there's 3 and 4 that will go on, and this is the part 1 of Blood Ties, and then part 2 goes into more of Jango's family and stuff, but it still has this overall plot that we're seeing unfold here goes into the next one. So there's 8 series. It's an 8 series or 8 episodes, like you could say, or whatever. But yeah, so this really gives you an inside look.
Yeah, I just looked it up. This was 2010, so it was way right. Yeah, right before they canceled everything.
Right. I was thinking about 2009, but yeah, it's so close to that arc and stuff. And if you want to say they are humanizing anyone, it would be the clones, which is rightfully so, because there are some clones, even though they are supposed to be programmed to genetically programmed to take orders and obey and stuff like that, they still had their own mind, right? They still had their own sense. Inserting the chip makes it imply they don't, and stuff like that. And so there's some that are like, and even like with the earlier batches, I guess you could say, that may not have been programmed just right. And you get into like the null arcs and those other ones. And some of them are like, I don't like what's going on. And they leave. They leave. And that, I think, gives us a chance to humanize them, because they are still humans. They're just clones. They're still humans and stuff like that. And Soul Assassin says Rex is a knockoff of Alpha. Changed my mind. I agree. So I'm not going to change your mind. I actually agree on that. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I guess I'm just saying it started off so well. I'm thinking they started going astray after like 2007-ish in that one. Yeah.
And the whole pretense behind the Clone Wars like Filoni show was to give us perspective of the clones, and it started off that way somewhat, and then it started venturing off to being a Ahsoka show in a sense.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of issues with the Clone Wars Filoni's version. There are episodes I enjoy, and those are about the clones.
Oh, those are the best ones. Oh my gosh, that team of those kind of misfits and how they became badass. I thought those were great.
Exactly. And I think that if they would have stayed on course and they still had Anakin and Obi-Wan in there in a sense, but still made it mainly about the clones, I think that maybe that show, for me and maybe others, but that show would have had a lot more depth to it. You know, and we can only do is what ifs now. We can only contemplate. We can only like imagine now. And I've even said this before, Disney. So this is not just like I'm out here to be a hit person on Filoni and stuff like that. I've been saying this for a long time. I never really cared for Filoni. I do like some of the stuff that he has done. Like I said, the clone arcs and the clone, episodes that strictly was about them or mainly about them. Yes. Everything else I didn't agree with. And I didn't agree with him keeping Ahsoka alive, and that can be a huge another topic in its own self. And I've been chastised for it because people are like huge Ahsoka fans. And it's like they go out with their pitchforks and want to kill you and send out their council mob if you don't agree. And that's what's going on right now with the Book of Boba Fett. If you don't like one episode or you've basically said anything negative, like in critique, according to them, they are after you.
Yeah. Right. Well, and that's just absurd the way people like to stalk that. I would be the biggest liar on earth if I tried to rewrite history and said I didn't like Ahsoka. Ahsoka grew on me, and especially because with the young people in my life, they really liked her. And I was perfectly fine with what they did up until when she left. I thought that was great, and I loved the idea. It was always in my head that after she was kind of left the Jedi Order, that eventually she was going to be hunted down and killed. And I thought that was kind of awesome. They ruined it by not only not having that happen, but then trying to give this whole big story of what occurred, and of course what they're doing with the show. Because I mean, that would have been so poignant if it had ended the way we thought, that eventually either Darth Vader or one of the stormtroopers or someone would have hunted her down and killed her in cold blood. I mean, that's badass.
Right. And it would give more depth to why Anakin had his dislikes about the council.
Precisely. And as I said, I how awful and terrible would it have shown how truly far gone Anakin was at that point as Darth Vader. At his old little Padawan, he just finds her someday, maybe just lobs off her head, and then goes on with his life and doesn't give a F.
Yeah, because at that point when they meet in Rebels, I believe he's not supposed to care at all whatsoever. No. To him, she's a Jedi. It shouldn't have mattered. And he was far gone by then. The only one that really started cracking that shell was the revelation that his child survived. And that gives it more of a true, heavy, heartbreaking eye-opener arc for Vader, is to realize that he has a child that survived. And not a Padawan, but a child. That was his whole focus of his turning dark, was to save his family, basically.
Yeah. And he didn't even really crack until Return of the Jedi, if you think about it, because even though he knew about Luke, at first he just wanted Luke for his powers. Like, okay, good, then the two of us will come and we will rule. He was looking at Luke as a possession, not as his son. We saw how he was even willing to chop off the dude's hand. Like, screw this, now come on. It wasn't until that scene on Endor when they're talking with each other that you start to see Vader start to melt a little bit, when Luke did, I think, the most unexpected. There was good in you, Father. He calls him Father. That rattled him.
Right. That rattled him and opened up crevices for Anakin to start showing himself.
Exactly.
Even more so than his revelation that he has a son in Empire Strikes Back, right?
Precisely.
And so to have Ahsoka survive and then meet again in Rebels, I think that does more harm to that arc of Luke and Vader in the OT than if she was to have been killed during the Purge or before the Purge or left and vanished or whatever, because there's characters in Star Wars that leave and vanish and we never hear from, right? And or that he just basically says, I don't give a shit, and kills her and in their confrontation in Rebels and moves on.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's not only just a disservice to Luke and Vader, but it's also a disservice to Ahsoka's story. I thought that, you know, if you wanted to say something about Ahsoka that would have been cool, that would have just been the perfect ending.
Right, exactly. You know, and it's all about like, oh, this is my character, and since it's my main character, I'm going to keep them alive as much as I can. And it does a disservice now to even the new Star Wars, because it's all built upon George's 6 movies, right? And
precisely. Well, yeah, she became Filoni's blow-up doll.
Right. He's got his little his wolves to ride, and he's got his Ahsoka blow-up doll to
exactly
ride again, but that would be a different, yeah, but we won't go that way. All right, you guys.
Well, she's grown up now. It's legal.
Yeah, it is.
It's like 40, whatever.
Oh God. Yeah. That's all right. Let's stop talking about the cringe and let's go ahead and start closing out here. It's like a little after 11. And so thank you guys so much. Like I said, I wanted to just go back into the heart of Star Wars and the true character of Boba Fett, including Jango here. Now you have a reason why he looks fear in the eyes and doesn't falter. His dad made sure of that. And so when so surviving the Sarlacc was just I wouldn't say a piece of cake, but it's just something that he did. I think Soul Assassin said it was an inconvenience to me when we were discussing that on Twitter. So it's basically more of an inconvenience than anything else. It wasn't life-changing. He went through a lot more things in his life that was more or less life-changing than, crawling out of someone's stomach to survive.
Exactly. It just sucked. It sucked pretty bad.
Yes, exactly. So giving you guys a glimpse of the true Boba Fett, the story arc here and all this stuff like that. That's what I want to do. So next Thursday, we will continue this and then go into Boba Fett is Dead, which is the second half of Blood Ties. And that's so the story continues on to that. And so we'll just do that. And then we'll go back to Dina Shawn's story arc and then finish reading up on that in the Rebellion era. So I thought this would be something that we should put in front of everybody, since everybody's watching, the Book of Boba Fett's out. You want to, I feel it's important to bring this out in front of people, to have in front of them, and all that stuff. So Teresa, where can we find you? I know you have some new shows coming up, so go ahead and let us know about that.
Well, you can find me at Miss Martin Muses here on YouTube, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Tonight, I'm going to be having Biggles Mets and My Nerdy Home. We're talking about the second season of Once Upon a Time. We're celebrating 10 years of that show. Also, on Saturday, we're continuing with our Lord of the Rings book discussion. We are at the end of The Two Towers. And yes, a new show is starting up. Me, Steeg, and Lady Gravemaster. We have the Fantasy Tavern, where we're going to be doing it the second Tuesday of every month. And our first show this coming Tuesday will be on Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia, and C.S. Lewis's fantasy works.
Awesome. And I can't wait for that. I've watched the movies and stuff. I haven't read the books, but so I'm familiar with that. So I'm excited for that. I'll probably be catching the replay on that, since I have to work for a portion of the time when you're live. So, but if you guys are available, go and support, watch, get involved into the classical fantasy where it's still pretty much intact.
Yeah, it'll bring bring what'll bring you joy. Read these things. I have really been looking backwards at the encouragement of Steeg, and it's just so much fun to have this new content, but it's really old and it's all there for you, and it ends well and it doesn't go woke. So go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then Soul Assassin says, I really don't care what people say. That Sean girl is a descendant from Revan and Bastila in my head canon. I think that's what they were going to come to, that conclusion. But then that story happened close to the buyout and it was discontinued. So that's kind of like another arc that was not fully allowed to blossom and come to its own conclusion. As for me, I do have once a month a new show coming up, or not coming up now. It's part of the channel and it's called HoloNet Journal, which I will be giving you flashbacks from the past in Star Wars, whether it's, characters, news, and stuff like that. So January this month, it'll be on the 26th at 7 p.m. And I myself will be sharing with you content information that came out in the past Lucasfilm during the month of January, and we'll discuss that, have fun, kind of like going back in history. And so I'm excited about that. And of course, Copy Chat every Thursday, 9 a.m. unless I state. And I haven't booked anybody in just yet for Talking EU, so stay tuned for that. I have a few people in mind. I have to reach out. I just been so busy, I haven't had a chance to. And yeah, and then of course my EU shorts, I'm going to be doing a lore short here pretty soon. Those shorts seem to take off really good in views. They're very tiny and concise and, in time, and very easy to digest, I guess you can say. So stay tuned for information on that and what's going to be next. I think I'm going to do another installment from the Bounty Hunter Wars. So stay tuned to that. Right now, I'm kind of focused on Boba Fett's arc in the original lore and keeping that in front of you guys. I know some people are getting tired of the destruction of our classical characters, and that's why I'm doing that, is to keep them alive.
Yeah.
Well,
and if you enjoyed this comic, go get it. Find it on eBay or somewhere, because that's what I love too. It's like this went completely under the radar for me, and I might want to go get it. I think you can also get them in digital form as well, though I love holding them in my hand.
Exactly. And I usually say try to not give the Mouse House any money and find them without the Legend label. But right now it's hard to find any of these comics, for a reasonable price that are not reproduced, without the label. So they do put them in collections, and Blood Ties is in its own collection. And it's under the label Legends, but this is probably one instance where I say, if you don't have the time and money to try to find every single one of those, in hard copy, then go check it out in the collection that's that's out today. And so I guess we're done here, you guys. And thank you guys for the chat. And again, Saturday at noontime, my time, Pacific Standard Time, I will have the drawing to see who's going to win a copy of Son of Kifu. And I'm going to go ahead and just play the little bit here. Make sure I have the right one. Let's see here. Oh, here it is. Announcement for my channel, OG Star Wars. Channel members have a chance to win a copy of Son of Kifu starting now in November through January, just by coming on and supporting live streams. Your name will be entered to win a copy of this wonderful painting. So I encourage you, channel members, to come and support, as this is a way of giving back to you. If you are not a channel member, then what are you waiting for? Our last channel member, Miss Martin Muses, is the one who won Mistress of Rat Attack. Congratulations. And I shall chat with you guys later. See you in the live streams. Have a good day. That's probably strange listening to you about yourself winning the last copy. That's me. So this is a last chance. So any channel member that has came in today to support, your name will be entered to win a chance to win a copy of Son of Kifu. And I'm so excited. I just have some minor details to finish, and then I'll go take it in to get professionally scanned, since it doesn't fit my scanner. My scanner bed's too small for it. And then I'll get the copies printed. I'm thinking of a 16 by 20 this time. So it's still going to be relatively large. Teresa got almost like a poster size.
Yeah, it's huge. It's great. I still have yet to get it framed. I'm going to put it up in my nerd room.
Nice addition to your nerd room. Yes. So, and that's what I'm like, that's some of the perks that I'm offering. to channel members, and I haven't decided exactly. Maybe I am going to do Boba Fett, and instead of doing a planet behind him, I'll do Slave One, because he really, even though he's from his heritage is from Conquer Dawn, which is part of the Mandalorian sector, and so they are Mandalorians still. Instead of doing that, or Camino, where he was genetically made, his home was always Slave One. And so even when he did settle partly on Mandalore, the planet Mandalore, Slave One was always his home. And that's what we knew him by. So I think we'll do Slave One in the background behind him. So I just have to figure out how I want to position him and Slave One and all that. So I think that's going to be the next one, in honor of the original Boba Fett, keeping true to the intended character arc and character story, I guess you could say, or characterization of him. And, I think I'll do that. Slave One. I almost want to paint the word Slave One on it because of the fact that they're changing the name too.
Yeah, splather it. Slave One.
Right. Yeah, so thank you guys again, everybody that came in and had some fun with us going over these comics. Next week we will continue Boba's arc here and find out what's going on between him and Connor and all of that. It's going to be fun, and stay open, be kind to each other when it comes to the discussion of the Book of Boba Fett, even when you don't agree. Don't be like those ones that are going out and attacking everybody. So you guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you.